Hi, I'm John Gumbley. I'm the president of the Gigantic Group. We are one of the biggest hospitality groups in Montreal. So my start, believe it or not, it's gonna sound kind of crazy, was built out of necessity. I grew up very, very poor, let's say, and in order to just like have the basics that a lot of kids had, like, you know, be able to go buy like a can of Coke or a bag of chips, I started selling chocolates door to door. And also while I was selling the chocolates, I was asking people for their bottles to recycle them. So my entrepreneurial drive was basically born out of necessity, just to like function and have things that I couldn't have, and they were very simple in the beginning, but it got me started at a very young age. So super important. One of the most fundamental things about my venues is that I like to say you're stepping into a world when you come into any of them. So we kind of like to blend a look with a feeling, with an ambiance, with performers, with lighting, with energy, and the base, which is the materials, the design, and the features of the place are what gives the first impression that you're walking into something realistic. You could add, you could make a Chinese restaurant just by giving it a Chinese name, but if the four walls are just windows or whatever, you don't get that energy. So we put a lot of time into the design and the conceptualization, and I always go deeper than that. Every single venue I have has a whole bunch of like hidden meanings within it, in terms of our artwork, in terms of our design, in terms of how things are laid out, even in terms of our name. So our newest, biggest place, which is Yoko Luna, it's a blend of Japanese and Peruvian food, and we've also kind of tried to blend the cultures and distinguish different identities by blending them together. And for instance, as simple as this, Yoko means child of the sun, loosely in Japanese, and Luna means moon in Peruvian. So basically, Yoko Luna is child of the sun and moon. Everything. So I don't really hire designers that that are gonna bring me the idea from zero and pop it in front of me and say, this is what your place is going to look like. I kind of hire designers that I could work with, where I have the base premise of everything that I want. I have dozens and dozens of referential pictures that they could look at as references to ideas that I have. I explain to them the concept and the colors that I want and the warmth. And then with that palette, the designer is supposed to paint something and potentially make it better than what I brought to him. But I would never pay somebody as if I didn't have my own ideas or my own thoughts and theories on what I want to create something from nothing, because like I said before, one of the most important things to me and one of the funnest things for me is I just love to create. So the biggest thing I do and why I move from project to project so quickly isn't because I want to make money or be successful or show off and be like, we sell this and we sell that. It's because I get bored and I want to like create something new. So I create something from top to bottom. I'm super excited, I'm super into it. Every little detail matters to me. Once I breathe life into it and we make sure the fundamentals are working, the food is flowing, the place is operational in the right way, we're receiving the gifts in the right way, and we're opening and closing properly, I quickly want to move on to creating something to inspire myself, I guess you could say. It all kind of comes together as one. So I might start with the story and start putting pieces together of the puzzle, but creating the story gives me ideas for the food, and vice versa, and the atmosphere and the ambiance, because for it all to work, it's like a circle. So you have to create kind of like an ecosystem for it to feel real for the client. Everything kind of has to go hand in hand. So I don't say like A to Z, letter by letter, how I'm gonna create something. I stumble into a lot of my ideas and thoughts just by taking the first step, getting to one level, and then say, okay, well, how could I build on this? Or what story could I add to this, or what's gonna feel real, or how could I modify the food now that I've modified the basic look of the place, and that's what happens. And that's what happened with all of my places. So I ended up here at Italbec, and how we ended up really moving forward with Italbec was I met Olympia, and she was super, super helpful. Her energy was great, and it's a lot like mine in many ways. And she gave us some really good ideas and examples and showed us materials, and that little bit of extra care that she put into it really made me more interested in working here. And then we just did the deal here. And then she put us in touch with her team, and everything worked out. But we found key thing here is when I walk into a place and I give my basic idea to somebody, I'm much more able to work with the person if they understand what I'm talking about and they show me the right things. In Italbec, they kind of understood where I was going with my ideas from the 3Ds, from the discussions, from just me talking, and we were able to like really, really bring my dreams to life. So one magic moment is something I wanted to do for many years, and every year, let's say in my late 20s and even early 30s, I kept on saying I'm gonna do something to give back, you know, to the community. And every year I ran out of time. It was just like, oh, it didn't happen. One year I just decided 2 weeks before Christmas I'm doing it. And I made the phone calls. We had like a friend of mine bring in a whole bunch of toys. We had like another friend of mine who owned a limo company bring in his limos to pick up the kids. We just kind of coordinated a group of people at a very, very like street level to get it done, not corporate, nobody expecting to make money, nobody expecting really to get views out of it or anything, just to help kids. Why I wanted to do that and why it was always important to me is because I grew up in Verdun when it wasn't a nice place like it is today. Today it's the #1 city on earth apparently. But when I was growing up there, it was full of poverty, full of welfare. My father died when I was 5 years old. My mom was blind and deaf, so I grew up in that kind of situation. And one of the things that got me through those early years was the church. So I went to church, Onward Gospel Church to be clear, and they would pick me up in a school bus, bring me there. Christmas, they would give us Christmas baskets, so we would get a turkey, we would have help. I was in stockades and brigades and doing, these things kept me off the streets and stuff like that. And if there hadn't been a group of people thinking about this kid with no father, with a blind and deaf mother in a third world country, I would have been on the streets in a gutter somewhere. If they weren't thinking about me, I never would have got to where I got today. So one magic moment is like, I say that the church, and maybe my aunt who I was really close with and tried to help me too, gave me a series of magic moments that allowed me to grow up and do well in my life. And one magic moment was the idea of me trying to instill that same idea in, you know, a street level youth or somebody coming out of the abject poverty and doesn't have much, to show them that there's more to life and there's more opportunity than they might be seeing within the four walls that they see on a daily basis. And that's what we did. And we've had, I think, 1,500 kids live that experience of like a full, like it's really an experience like going to one of my supper clubs as if you're a VIP. And we pick them up in a limo, we bring them in, they meet Santa Claus, they get gifts that are specific to those kids with their names on it. We put the extra effort to do that. We feed them like a 5-course meal. We have performers come in, and then as much as possible, I've had like George St. Pierre, PK Subban, other people come in to meet them as inspirational role models. Just to like give these kids, again, the one magic moment that, hey, if a few of them say, this was really, really good to me, and they get inspired to try harder or do better, that's the whole goal of one magic moment. You know, that's an easy question because always people try to give a really smart answer, and there's no real smart answer. There's no shortcuts. There's no real secret to success. There's no magical tree that's growing in your backyard that the golden apple's gonna fall on your head and give you an idea. It's basically taking a step and then taking another step and always moving forward. As soon as you decide to do something, you just have to do it. Like Nike, just do it. As silly and simple as that is, If you don't start the process, there is no process. So a lot of people ask a lot of questions. How did you do it? How can I do it? What's the secret to success? None of that means anything. It's really, really simple. I'm just like the guy next to me, but rather than questioning or being afraid or worried, what if this happens? What if that happens? Well, if A turns into B, what's C going to be? I just jump ahead, take the step, and find my way. So the secret to success, or how to get going, or how to create your own business, or how to live the life you want to live, is just decide what you want to do and do it. And then you're gonna bump into problems, but it's better to bump into a problem, sidestep it, and move forward than to worry staying on ground zero or the sidelines about what every problem was going to be.